Women joined the workforce during World War I, giving them many new responsibilities. These responsibilities led to the headstrong woman of the 1920s.
This woman of the 20s demanded equal rights, creating a culture based around the free and wild image of the flapper.
Flappers supported and led the women's rights movement, advocating for equal rights with the Equal Rights Amendment.
Although it was not passed,
the independent females fighting for equality paved the way for those who would follow in their footsteps to change the sexist mentality of the United States.
as men went off to fight in World War I, women assumed responsibility in family life as well as the economic stability of the country.
During the World War I era, over 1 million women joined the workforce.
Blacks and whites took advantage of improving economic status during the war.
Women were valuable in upholding the jobs that men would occupy during the war.
Women were encouraged to support the war and were used as a marketing strategy.
They began to form organizations like the Committee of Women's Defense. Supporters of the war registered women throughout America for suitable jobs and encouraged them to conserve food and fuel.
In World War I, the federal government stepped out of gender affairs in the workforce and left the issues for the industries to decide.
The independence women developed during the 1920s led to the creation of the headstrong woman known as the flapper.
The new responsibilities led to the rise of feminism and an era of freedom.
Parents looked on with horror as their children grew beyond their control.
The New York Times wrote, "The American woman has lifted her skirt far beyond any modest limitation, 9 inches off the ground."
The new woman, as defined by writers, she was labeled a flapper and was lovely, expensive, and about the age of 19.
They smoked cigarettes and drank liquor, applied lots of makeup, and planned to work for a living.
As documented on this magazine cover, they were portrayed as the modern woman, wild and with the image of play instead of work. Sexuality became much more prominent and open in the Roaring Twenties, and sex was no longer reserved for marriage.
Flappers cut their hair short, and it was popular to wear dresses creating a slim, boyish figure with no corset.
While flappers made up only a small percentage of the population in the 1920s, their influence contributed to the greater freedom for all their sisters.
By 1920, 21% of the total American labor force was women.
This picture shows Allison T. Hopkins holding a sign in front of the White House to catch the president's attention on January 30th, 1917.
The changes of responsibilities and culture led to the fight for equal rights for women in the form of the Equal Rights Amendment.
The proposed amendment read, "Men and women shall have equal rights throughout the United States in every place subject to its jurisdiction."
The first section entails, "Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex."
The second part reads, "The Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of the article."
The last section announces, "This amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification."
The ERA was written in 1923 by Alice Paul, who was a suffragist leader and founder of the National Women's Party.
It was opposed because it would take away certain rights already in place to protect women in the workplace, and it would make them subject to military draft.
The Equal Rights Amendment was first introduced to Congress in 1923 and was passed and sent to the states for ratification.
By June 30th, 1982, the ERA had been ratified by 35 states, 3 states short of the 38 required to be passed and put into the Constitution.
Although women have gained the right to vote and have prospered in the workforce, according to the Constitution, they are still technically unequal to men.
The ideas in the amendment were introduced again in 1972, but again were not passed.
Perhaps one day, women will receive the equal status they have fought for.
As Alice Paul once said, there will never be a new world order until women are a part of it.